What it do, guys? Your boy JangleX, and welcome back to another reaction. So today we're gonna be checking out part 2 of the Minecraft Iceberg, the missing entrance. So biggest kept on requesting this OD, so we're probably gonna go ahead and watch it because I was gonna watch it soon, but let's go ahead and watch it now of the second part.
Okay, right off the bat, this video is an extension of my previous video explaining the Minecraft Iceberg. If you haven't seen that, the following won't make as much sense, so check it out using the link below. First of all, I want to thank everybody for the responses to the first Iceberg video. It's a drastic change from the content my channel has produced in the past, and it really makes me happy to see that others are enjoying it. This is the first video I've released that has been so popular that I can't read every comment. You guys left me a lot of positive feedback. Well, mostly positive feedback. In this video, I'm going to address a few things that were incorrect from the last video. Then, I'm going to dive into a list of entries that I think should have been on the iceberg. Skip to the timestamp below if you want to watch that part right now. Let's get started. Oh yeah, by the way, there are no sudden appearances of Herobrine in this video. Sorry about that. However, the 1.16 changelog doesn't say removed Herobrine, so I'd keep my eyes open if I were you.
Okay.
By far, the biggest fact that I missed had to do with the evokers. The theory stated that their sound effects were from cult recordings. I made the argument that each of their noises was clearly inspired by villagers except for one. The origins of this sound effect are from well before Minecraft existed. It's from the game Age of Empires, released back in 1997.
Oh, I remember that game!
The priest unit is able to convert enemy units, and in doing so makes the famous sound effect. So this actually has been a meme for quite some time, and I just wasn't OG enough to recognize it. If the connection to Age of Empires wasn't already obvious, the vocals in Minecraft include an Easter egg where they can turn red sheep into blue sheep, a clear nod to the priest's ability.
I always like to create like my own little mini army and stuff.
Are
like
evoker
that.
chants actual cult recordings? We can confidently say no, they are not.
Busted.
As I was editing this video, it was announced that Steve was going to be added to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I honestly couldn't believe it, but it looks like Steve posting actually worked. Maybe it was Mojang all along. Some people pointed out that fake multiplayer might be referring to the fact that single-player Minecraft runs a local server and then connects to it. That does make sense, and probably what the Iceberg was talking about. It's the main reason things can lag even when you're offline. Your computer is running an isolated server, and it's still vulnerable to the same types of slowdowns. Something else. I've seen various sources referring to Pop-Bob as a she, but also some as a he.
Pop-Bob.
I'm not completely sure which it is, so if I got that wrong, I apologize. Also, apparently Alex is not necessarily supposed to be female. The character was based on Jeb, whose long ponytail we've mentioned before. It makes sense that people thought that Alex was a girl, and there are countless news articles saying that, so I think the misconception is pretty common. This makes it a little bit less likely that Rana was the inspiration for Alex. Some Bedrock corrections. You can make skins in-game in Bedrock Edition, although some require payment. I play Java, so I was unaware of that, but it is in the base game. Another Bedrock feature that a few people have mentioned was a player spawn egg. This is only possible if you use an NBT editor to change the inventory. I sort of want to put this in a category of a mod since you can't do this without tweaking the game files, but it's technically possible.
This is only...
There are a few more details. The end was at one point.
I think I might go ahead and skip this part and get to the second part of the surface level, but this is where it starts the conversation.
PC Gamer demo.
Alright.
In June 2011, the magazine PC Gamer came with a CD containing a demo version of Minecraft. It allowed players to play the full game for 100 minutes before it would lock, and blocks could no longer be placed or destroyed. The game contained a starter chest and helpful hints to get the player going. Being a demo, the world has a few strange features. First of all, every cow has a PC Gamer logo tattooed to its side.
Wow.
There's also a giant logo out in the distance. It's made of wool and snow, so it can be broken or lit on fire. Furthermore, a hidden chest can be found at spawn if you dig down a little bit. The demo is actually a really good introduction to what Minecraft was like back in 2011. If you want, you can download the demo right now. I'll put a link in the description. It's a nice little 4 MB look into the past. Roses. While we're on the topic of old Minecraft, the poppy used to be called the rose. When you look at how roses grow in real life, it's pretty obvious why they made the change. I personally like the old texture better, but hey, what can you do? Giants.
Giants.
Minecraft includes several mobs that don't spawn naturally in the game, but can be accessed through console commands.
There were giants.
The oldest
at one
of these
point?
is the Giant, which was added to the game back on February 5th, 2010. It's a zombie that's 6 times larger than the normal version.
They should add
As
that
scary
back.
as it looks, it's an unsupported mob, so it can't actually hurt the player. It's one of the last remaining relics of quote-unquote old Minecraft, and it can still be spawned as of 1.16 using the summon command. As an aside, there's a theory that the extremely rare fossils that can generate in the overworld are fossils from giant zombies. Nothing else in Minecraft quite matches them, except for possibly the Ender Dragon. Zombie Horse. Next up is the Zombie Horse. These were released with the horse update in 2013.
Oh, wow.
They're very similar to normal horses, although they can't be tamed once spawned. Also, due to a bug, they cannot be ridden in water. Zombie horses aren't that useful, but they're still pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it's different.
Killer Bunny. Rabbits are a passive mob that spawn in the game. They were initially released in 2014, and they come in several color variants depending on the biome. However, there's a secret version called the Killer Bunny that can be accessed through console commands. It is very aggressive with glowing red eyes, and it attacks the player, dealing a high amount of damage.
Dang, you know what's crazy though about the killer bunnies? I don't know if you guys know about the anime ReZero, but if you guys made it to season, I think it's either season 3 part 1, if I remember correctly. Oh, well, spoiler alert. Hopefully you guys haven't seen it yet, but this is spoiler, so skip this part. In that part, in one of the episodes, there was a bunch of bunnies that appeared and killed that man. And I was like, damn. It was.
The rabbit is a reference to Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where the killer bunny dismembers several people. So much gore. I can't show it here
on the
for
boy Subaru
reasons, but you can look it up. At one point, killer bunnies did spawn naturally, although they were removed fairly quickly.
maybe I think this is where they got the idea from.
There are a few more mobs that only spawn through commands, although to me these aren't as interesting. They include the Illusioner, the Old Villager, and the Old Zombie Villager, although the last 2 can only be spawned in Bedrock Edition. Toast. There's another naming Easter egg that I didn't mention in the last video. Naming a rabbit to Toast changes the texture to a black and white rabbit. This was added to the game as a memorial for a Reddit user whose girlfriend lost her rabbit. It's a really cool gesture by Mojang for some random person on the internet. Minecraft Mob Gender. If you really start to think about the mobs in Minecraft, it's hard to figure out what gender they're supposed to be. Some mobs are easy. The Ender Dragon is probably a female because it lays an egg. Others are more complex. Cows have both udders and horns, and chickens look like roosters but lay eggs. However, Notch has stated that those mobs were intended to be genderless, which is sort of how I interpreted it before I really thought about it. Still, it's a good point to bring up because it's one of those strange things. Oh, and by the way, this doesn't apply to bees, since as we all know, every Minecraft bee is trans. Rare biomes. Minecraft includes many different biomes, 67 in the overworld to be exact. A unique quirk to the modern terrain generation system is that different biomes have different rarities. Some rare varieties include jungle, mushroom fields, badlands, and giant tree taigas.
That's how I got to the mushroom.
The rarest of them all is Modified Jungle Edge, which is a hilly transition biome that isn't all that interesting, although it's so rare that even the locate biome command will often fail to find it. Shattered Savanna, on the other hand, is fascinating. Instead of the flat, grassy terrain of the standard savanna, the Shattered variant is incredibly chaotic, with huge peaks that can reach as high as the build limit. It's crazy compared to most of the biomes, which are relatively tame. It reminds me a lot of the Extreme Hill generation back in beta, and it's a cool place to live if you're able to find one.
Yeah, you create like a nice little home in there. That'd be crazy. That would be epic, especially with the view. Shadow Waters.
Shearing mushrooms. This one is pretty simple, but still interesting. Using shears on a mushroom removes the mushroom and turns it back into a normal cow. This seems to imply that the mushrooms are normal cows that have been corrupted by the fungus. This occurs in real life with the cordyceps fungus that takes over ants and causes them to become kind of like zombies. Several other video games have used this idea, including Pokemon with Parasect, and The Last of Us, where the infected are controlled by the cordyceps fungus. Is this happening with the mushrooms? It's certainly food for thought. Chainmail crafted from fire. Chainmail armor has been in the game for a very long time. It was first added way back in 2009. However, it had a very strange crafting recipe. Instead of using materials like iron, chainmail armor was crafted using fire blocks. The recipe was definitely weird for myself and many others who I talked to. It seems as though the use of fire was a somewhat arbitrary decision whose main purpose was to be a placeholder recipe. Since fire blocks were unobtainable, players couldn't accidentally craft the chainmail before it was fully tested. A legitimate way to get chainmail armor wasn't added until 2012 with the blacksmith villagers. The crafting recipe was removed in 2014, and Mojang is yet to add a replacement.
It looks like any emerald now.
Studded armor. Related to chainmail is studded armor. This existed in very early versions of Minecraft, and the textures came from another game by Notch called Legend of the Chambered. However, the armor offered no protection and was used only for debugging purposes. Interestingly, a few other Minecraft textures also came from this game, including leather armor, swords, and apples. A texture for quivers also existed for a while, but it never did anything. Title screen world. The title screen in modern Minecraft contains a blurry background of a Minecraft world. Similar to pack.png, the Minecraft community was able to figure out what seed was used to take this screenshot. Once again, I'll refer you to the SalC1 video, which does a good job of explaining how this happened. Giant slimes.
Giant slimes.
Slimes and magma cubes are mobs that are well known for having different sizes.
Huge.
Killing a larger slime causes it to split into 2 to 4 smaller slimes, depending on its size. Sizes of 1, 2, and 4 spawn naturally. However, using console commands, it's possible to spawn even bigger slimes. And I mean way bigger. Like, take
like
however big you're thinking and double it. This right here is a size 256 slime. It's a whopping 130 blocks high.
Wow.
The best, or worst part, is that it still splits when killed. After a few splits, it brings my computer to its knees.
Wow.
It's such a fun and relatively unknown feature, and I highly encourage you all to try it for yourself.
Game.
Of course, the same works for magma cubes.
That would definitely crash.
Giant phantoms. Phantoms can also be spawned as giants in much the same way. They have the same HP but deal more damage as the size increases. Phantoms are scary enough as they are. A giant phantom is straight up terrifying. Void fog. Older versions of Minecraft had a fog particle effect as the player got near bedrock. Visibility was also reduced the further down the player went. It was pretty cool for the ambiance it added, but it could also get annoying. It was apparently removed due to performance issues.
The depths. Tier 3.
Minecraft Raspberry Pi Edition. A Raspberry Pi is essentially a credit card-sized computer, and it can be used for a wide variety of engineering projects. There's a simplified version of Minecraft that can be installed. It's designed to help people learn to code in Python, which is a popular programming language. This version is less of a game and more of an educational tool. If you happen to have a Pi laying around, download it and see what you think. Minecraft Education Edition. There's a version of Minecraft that is designed specifically to be used in schools. You can download it for free, although you'll need an email address from an educational institution to use it. This version contains a tutorial for Minecraft, as well as many features that could be used in the classroom. Some unique elements include the camera,
what the heck is
NPCs,
a camera?
border blocks, and blackboards. There's a lot going on here, and the Education Edition probably deserves its own video.
It's a camera.
Debug world.
How come none of y'all didn't told me that I can spawn a camera?
Holding shift while selecting the world type enables the debug mode world type. This world contains all blocks in all possible states arranged in a huge grid. It should be pretty obvious what this world is for, but it's still really cool to fly around and see just how many things are possible in Minecraft.
Can I mine and take it with me to the other world?
Minecraft features
to my
inspired
world?
by mods.
I wonder if that'll work.
Mod in Minecraft has been a pretty large subculture for a long time. I remember playing Tekkit and then eventually Feed the Beast. The first thing that came to my mind with this entry was the Ender chest from the Ender Storage mod. It's tough to find old versions of it, but Ender Storage predates vanilla chests by at least a couple of months, and I seem to remember it being longer than that, although I have no concrete evidence. The Ender chest is such a unique idea that I have a hard time believing it wasn't inspired by Ender Storage. Another one is the Buildcraft Hopper, which worked in much the same way as the vanilla hopper. In fact, Buildcraft was forced to change the name of their item to Shoot because of the vanilla edition of a hopper. Horses used to be in the Mo Creatures mod. According to Jeb, the creator of Mo Creatures helped Mojang implement horses into vanilla Minecraft, which is why Minecraft horses are extremely similar to the modded version. The same goes for pistons. There was a piston mod whose code was added directly into Minecraft. The mod's creator, Hippopotamus, is in the credits.
That's actually kind of clever.
A simpler example is single-player commands.
It's like a catapult.
I remember needing to download a mod whenever I wanted to use commands back in beta, but eventually that was added to the base game. There are quite a few more features that showed up in mods first, such as jungles, but since these exist in real life, it's harder for me to buy that Mojang was inspired by the mods themselves. Still, there's a long list on the Feed the Beast subreddit which I'll link down below. Removed structures. Older versions of Minecraft had some interesting structures that have since been removed. ImpDev in particular has a few examples dating from 2010. There used to be giant brick pyramids that could spawn naturally. They had no loot or anything inside. In fact, they were mostly used as a test to see how the world generation could handle such large structures. There was also an InDev house that would spawn with the player upon beginning a new world. They were made of moss stone and contained 4 chests with TNT, every type of block, every item, and every color of wool. The house underwent several changes with various versions before its eventual
Imagine having that kind of loot.
Early 2010.
Tier 4, the Abyss. Is this the final part?
Missing versions.
Oh yeah, it is.
Minecraft has several older versions that are known to have existed but are currently missing. Some of these only have a few screenshots to prove their existence, and a few only have changelogs. It's unknown where many of these have gone, but there are probably people out there who unknowingly still have them.
What the heck?
Deepening the mystery, Notch has region blocked his old Minecraft videos around the world. Is he hiding something? Probably not, but Notch has spoken publicly about the depression that came with his Minecraft fame. My best guess is that this has something to do with him removing the videos. Notch, if you're watching this, I hope you're doing better now. Shadow seeds.
Shadow seeds.
Every Minecraft seed has a shadow, where the biome map is the same, but everything else is different. This has to do with the way seeds are used when the world is generated. It was discovered by a Reddit user, but if you want to see a good explanation as to how it works, check out this video by AntVenom. It's actually pretty easy to calculate a shadow seed. Just add this number to an existing seed.
Bruh.
I like to think about how a shadow seed is an alternate universe where people settled in different places, creating a whole new timeline. Steve Villager Hybrid. At one point, there existed an unused texture that, when modeled, produced a surreal Steve Villager hybrid. It couldn't be spawned in the game, and the images we have are fan recreations using the textures. The purpose of this remains a mystery, although it was most likely a way to test what villagers could have looked like. MD3 models. I mentioned in the previous video how there were several models in the game that didn't match the Minecraft style, including Rana. Notch uploaded a video that shows several other MD3 models that weren't implemented in the game. They look so out of place, like they're from another universe. Mercifully, these were removed after a couple of days. An uneasy alliance. Minecraft has several achievements that help the player as they progress through the game. One such achievement is an uneasy alliance, whose text reads, "Rescue a ghast from the nether, bring it safely home to the overworld, and then kill it." Besides having a dark ending, the particular wording of this achievement leads to some unsettling implications. The word rescue is used specifically. According to Webster's dictionary, to rescue means to free from confinement, danger, or evil. Additionally, the achievement explicitly uses the word home to refer to the overworld. We can draw a few conclusions from this. First, it seems as though ghasts are not native to the nether. In fact, the opposite appears to be true. They were somehow taken from their home in the overworld and trapped in another dimension. Is that why they're so sad? Suffering is a theme of the ghast, and they drop tears upon death.
Yeah.
So how and why did this happen? There are no definitive answers here, but a few pieces of evidence can help us unpack this mystery.
Unpack the mystery.
First, there's an unused ghast sound effect called the affectionate scream, which would apparently happen when the player did something to make the ghast affectionate towards them, such as,
I don't somebody's trying to play the
rescuing
flute,
them
but
from
don't
the
know
nether.
how.
The other thing to consider is the name of the achievement, which is an uneasy alliance. Why would a human willingly ever ally with a ghast, considering how difficult it is to get one out of the nether? The ghast must give something in return in order to ensure that the alliance is fair for the human.
Oh, he put it through
Perhaps
the
a free
portal.
ghast would choose to drop a ghast tier, a critical item for making regeneration potions and end crystals. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of well-known theories about this. Some of you will have noticed that there's a very important piece of evidence that I have neglected to mention thus far. The Mob Bestiary book includes a cutaway drawing of a ghast that lets us see what's inside, and what we find is chilling. We can see what looks to be a computer system where the brain should be, as well as a cannon that fires out projectiles. We can't tell for sure, but if that's the case, then it should completely change how we talk about the ghast. Is it possible that they're not even alive, but instead some electromechanical contraption? Who made them? And how could a robot be banished? Are its tears nothing more than a sinister bait for the unwitting human?
I don't
No
know,
one
man.
knows for
Minecraft
sure.
has a lot of secrets.
I'd be especially interested to hear your thoughts in the comments below. I think this is a really underrated mystery that deserves some more discussion. Thanks to everybody who made it to the end of the video. Minecraft is a pretty deep game, and I'm glad I got to talk about some of the things that were missing on the first Iceberg video.
Wow.
Speaking of which, if you haven't seen it, I'll put a link on the end screen. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Also, what videos do you want to see me do next? Minecraft secrets? Other icebergs?
Sure, I actually kind of low-key want to see the Minecraft secrets. I ain't gonna lie. Because there's so much in depth in Minecraft since the beginning of time when it was first created. There's so many secrets and so many things that they put in, took out, put in, and took out. I would like to see that. Them putting in a giant zombie, like, that'd be kind of cool. Like, make it as a boss fight. You know, that'd be kind of lit to check that out. And other things that they also add in there, but that's insane. Imagine fighting against a giant. Well, that slime looked like the whole world of Earth, actually. That's how big that slime was. But that would definitely would have crashed your damn game by now. But yeah, that was kind of interesting. It does have a lot of dark secrets and other things to it, but probably definitely find out more later in the future when I'll check out episode 3 soon. But yeah, stay tuned for that whenever I'll able to have the chance to check out the part 3 of the Minecraft Iceberg. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time. It's been your boy JangleX. Take care and peace.
Well, I think you're pretty great.